Hello and welcome to another episode of Allo and Ace podcast. I am the allosexual Skylar.
And I'm the asexual Jessie.
Hey Jessie, how's it going?
You know what? The last time I answered that, I was having a hard time. And
It was a friend breakup.
it was a best friend breakup. Okay. Let's get that clear. But this week has been better. It's been better. However, today has been an interesting one. Yesterday was an interesting one, and we'll talk more about that. But overall, I'd say I'm doing better.
Good.
How are you?
I am exhausted, I think. There's a lot going on with work, end of month, along with the podcast and social media. I did 40 shirts front and back yesterday. So with all that, including our full-time jobs, we also have a print shop in our garage where I do shirts and stickers and in the future tumblers. And so I had a 40 shirt order that needed to get done before Pride, and which is this weekend. And so I was able to bust them all out last night. So
Let's not forget the 6 kids as well.
and 6 children.
Right. So usually we do try to record on Mondays or Tuesdays, and we just couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. Before we get too far into the episode, we do want to put out the typical warnings, which I guess, is usually we do it just because if someone chooses to listen to this one first, they wouldn't have heard all of the trigger warning stuff. So this podcast is a sexuality podcast where we do discuss asexuality as well as sex in and of itself.
And other sexualities as well.
And other sexualities and other things along those lines can come up like SA as well as self-harm and things like that.
Mental health.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are listening and you start getting a bit down with your mental health, please stop and come back later if you want to. We also do recommend that if this is your first time tuning in, we highly recommend starting with episode 1 because that is going to give you the whole history of us as an allo and ace couple and throughout other things.
Right. And we'd also like to say we are not professionals. We talk about all of this in relation to our experiences and what we've been through and what we have seen help us.
Exactly.
Yes.
We are on all of the socials pretty much, and if you ever want to reach out, we actually want you to.
We do.
As well as if you want to email, if that's your preferred method, you can reach out by email to alloandacepodcast@gmail.com.
And we'd also like to give a big shout out to all of those that reached out over the last week and a half, and we appreciate it. We love you, and please keep reaching out.
Yes. So this episode is going to be a bit different. We've had a lot of more relationship type talks over the last 6, 7, and 8 episode. This one's going to be more about
a little bit of a variety.
And, what we have learned from starting this podcast a couple months ago. And so let's talk about what's been happening over the last couple days, or do we want to wait?
I want to wait. I want to put a pin in that for just a bit. It's interesting because we had discussed several different options for this episode, but as things have unfolded over the last week and a half, it kind of became clear that we wanted to touch base on a few things. So that's just wanted to give a bit more context there. Also, I wanted to start off by answering a question that was asked.
Oh, yes.
Yes. A question that we've had more than once has been, it's kind of a 2-for-1 question. It is, how have you talked to your kids about your own sexuality? And how have you talked to your kids about their sexuality?
And how do you make it age appropriate?
Yes.
Because like we have 14-year-olds, but then we also have 8-year-old,
Right. We have 8-year-old.
9-year-old, 11, 11, 14, 14.
Right. But it's easier to just say 2 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
There is a point in the year when all of them are the same age.
Yes.
So,
well, yeah.
Anyway, so it's interesting. We have to kind of be flexible in that sense. But also, I think Skylar and I believe in being pretty transparent at their level if they do ask a question. So
Even with the 14-year-old, he recently asked me a question. I'm like, how honest do you want me to be?
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
do you want me to give you like a parental answer, or do you want me to give like a vulnerable parental answer?
Didn't he ask about psilocybin or something?
No.
Oh, I thought it had to do with that. It's interesting.
It was about cannabis.
Cannabis. Okay. Yeah. Teenagers, they're interesting to be raising.
No, but he did. He was in one of his 8th grade classes, and he's like, they're talking about in health class, I think, about the funny mushrooms. He's like, have you ever done that?
Skylar just looks around.
I just sent him back like a shrugging side eye emoji.
Yeah, you really have to pick and choose where you want to go with that and at what age you're willing to, talk about anything like that. So it's interesting. I want to first touch on talking to my 14-year-old about sexual orientation. So for a while, we thought that, there may be a difference there with him. We couldn't quite figure it out.
Because when you have 2 14-year-olds, it's easier to compare the two.
Which I know you shouldn't do.
You shouldn't, but it's like one is acting this way and one is acting this way.
Like very not this way. So after a couple of years of kind of observing it lightly, we obviously don't ever want to put something on them, right? So the way I decided to go about this with my 14-year-old was that I explained a wide variety of sexual orientations because I felt it was appropriate as, he's going on 15 here now. And I just asked him, do you feel like you fit anywhere into any of these? And he said, well, yeah, I'm asexual. And I was like, what? Because he didn't know that I am when this conversation happened. This was when I had barely found out too. But he didn't know. And I was so happy that he didn't know because I didn't want that to have any kind of sway. I didn't want that to muddy it at all.
It wasn't as an asexual, I think you might be asexual.
Yes, I didn't want anything like that. I wanted to give him all of the different definitions that I knew and then have him express what he felt. So when he said this to me, I was honestly like, how do you know that? I'm in my head, I'm like, it took me 36 years, son. But I did say, how did you know that? And he told me that about a year ago, he was talking with his group of friends and they were all talking about crushes and whatnot. And he said, I don't have a crush or something to that sort. And they said, well, yeah, it's because you're probably asexual. And I think at that point he had done a little bit more digging into what that meant. And he accepted that for what it is. However, I was very clear to let him know that he's definitely still going through puberty and things might change for him or they may not. So he has that understanding and I check in with him here and there. It's pretty openly talked about, especially with the 14-year-olds, almost 15-year-olds.
And I think I was going to at least mention this probably in the first couple episodes, but we never did because I want to say the second episode when we talked about how we raise our kids to be in curiosity and this and that, I wanted to mention that anytime we ask the kids about a crush, we never give them the heteronormative, like if they're a boy, do you have any crushes on girls? We say, do you have any boy crushes, girl crushes?
Do you have any crushes on anyone? we try to make it as open as possible to let them freely answer comfortably. And we've kind of always done that. And so I think it's made it easier to have interesting conversations.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think I even recently did that with one of my daughters, the middle daughter, and just said, "Do you think that you might like girls or boys, or you don't know yet?" And this isn't to like pry into their lives in a sense of forcing them to admit something. It's more so to make sure that they understand that no matter what, we will always love them.
And that they can talk to us about anything that they need to talk to us
Yeah.
about.
And I think I even brought up gender with her as well, and she identifies as a she, her right now. So that, yeah, I just told her that you can literally talk to Jesse and I about anything, and we will never judge you or be upset with anything that you bring up when it comes to sexual identity or orientation or gender identification at all.
Right. And I also want to make a note that they have a very diverse family situation as far as sexual orientations and gender go. They have they have gay uncles, they have lesbian aunts, they have transgender aunts, uncles. So it's all a very friendly space for any kind of that type of talk.
Yeah, and they even have redheaded aunts and uncles.
Yeah, redheaded aunts and uncles. Can you believe? Thanks, Skylar.
You're welcome.
So the next thing I wanted to touch on real quick is that I feel comfortable talking about my conversation with my 14-year-old because I know that he isn't shy about saying he's asexual. He has been known to wear the asexual colors, like on a pin. He likes those kinds of things. So it's not that I'm outing him.
Yeah, and he possibly, even at this point, might even be aromantic.
He could be, yes. With the understanding that he knows he's still growing.
Yeah,
and understanding himself.
And that's one thing that we talk about them too is this isn't nothing you tell us right now is permanent. We're not going to hold you to it.
Right. Things can move and shift, especially as you're growing. So, yeah, I wanted to make that one clear. As far as my own sexuality goes, all of our kids know that I'm asexual. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I don't know what the two youngest ones know
I mean,
about
yeah,
it,
I don't think that they actually understand what that means necessarily, but they have an understanding of it on a very surface level. Like it's not abnormal for me to say, well, yes, in the asexual community, or it's not abnormal for them to hear that.
And they all know to some degree how babies are made because there is a book that has been around them for 6 years. So since they were ages 2 to 8, which talked about this dance of the sperm and the egg and
Yep.
all that.
That's right. I came out to my 14-year-old son when I had that same conversation with him when he came out to me. I let him know that I love that he has identified himself in this way, and I hope he knows that he's not alone, that there is a community out there of asexuals. And then I also let him know that I just discovered this about myself, and I wish I would have known a long time ago, like when I was his age, because I told him it felt very isolating, and I was very confused for a very long time. So he has that understanding with me as well. And I was honest about that.
I selfishly am glad that you didn't know.
Why?
Until now, because...
because honestly, my whole life would look insanely different.
I don't think we would have been in each other's lives in the way that we are.
Possibly.
So that's my own selfish thing, but
yeah,
I'm glad that you understand and know yourself now. And I do think it's awesome that the younger generations are able to figure these things out about themselves at an earlier age.
Yeah, I agree. With the caveat of knowing that there can be a lot of fluidity there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that you got some sort of nugget out of that storytelling there. The next thing that I wanted to talk about that just made me think of it because I told the story of coming out to my 14-year-old is that I'm taking a big breath here, going into this TikTok video that Skylar and I have that he recorded. It has received a lot of attention in the last couple of days.
Well, we recorded it almost a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked back and it was on the 4th of May that I recorded it. And the initial couple days, it went up like 20,000 views. And then not much, like a few views here and there. And then 2 days ago, it went up in the last 2 days, almost 100,000 views.
Right. And with that 100,000 views came hundreds of comments. And the way that I was looking at it is when it was in the lower views, and when I say lower, it's still kind of high to me, it felt like we had a good amount of lovely, supportive comments and a sprinkle of negative. But when we saw this massive jump in the last 2 days, it felt more like an overload of terrible, awful comments and a sprinkling of love and support. Not to mention the ones that were filtered out that were in review.
Yeah, the automatic filtered comments
they're
a dumpster fire.
They're some of what my worst nightmares are made of, as far as embracing myself and accepting myself and who I am as an asexual. And
essentially, the whole premise of the TikTok video was that you, as an allosexual, you can't sacrifice something that isn't offered. Now, people say, but you are choosing to be in that relationship, so you could certainly go outside of that relationship and get your quote-unquote needs met. But if you're choosing to be in a relationship, the whole point was consent is important and vital. And if it's not offered, you're not actually sacrificing it. And that was the whole point of the TikTok video. And it went into labels are so stupid. Why does everyone have all these made up labels?
This is just pretend. Do you like playing pretend?
You're just in a regular marriage that's at least 3 years old because every marriage is that way. You're just a straight couple. Get over yourselves. You're not part of the LGBTQIA community.
Stop trying to be so relevant. You're just boring people. No one cares. Shut up. What the fuck? Get out of here.
Why would you post this? Who cares? Nobody cares about your personal life.
This is your business. Why are you sharing this everywhere? No one cares. No one wants to hear it.
And it's funny because all those ones where it's like, no one cares. And I'm like, but yet you listened and you chose to comment.
Yeah. And then they also sit there and try to go back and forth. I did make a couple video responses to a couple of the comments. And I admittedly got my feathers ruffled quite a bit this morning, which annoys me so bad because I don't want to have my ruffles feathered by these ridiculous comments. But it's true, I did.
And we understand if we're choosing to do a podcast and openly talk about our lives, from everything to how many kids we have, our names,
literally what happened to me during sex.
Like, we get it. We're opening ourselves to have people make whatever comments they want to.
Yes.
And I don't really care. It doesn't really bother me in the sense, like, personally on myself, it doesn't bother me. But when people start making comments about Jessie, or I see how much it's affecting her, then it starts getting a little, under my skin. I started being less nice with some of the comments, but we get it. We're opening ourselves to public display and public commentary.
We are. I also don't think, though, that means that everyone's entitled to ask us whatever they want at any time, especially if it's in a rude sense. Like, we love hearing from people, but what we love is the genuine curiosity or the spread of love and support or community. That's what we're doing this for.
One of the probably the funniest comments was this lady was like, "So what do you do to relieve your sexual frustrations?" And I'm like, "I've got a hand." And she was like, "That's about the simplest answer I could have asked for. Thank you so much."
Like, what? Well, what else are you going to say exactly?
I don't know. I guilt her into it, or I don't know. I'm like, my hand's not broken.
Yeah.
But our whole reason for starting this podcast was one, well, I can't say whole reason and then list a bunch. A lot of our reasons for starting this podcast was one, because there wasn't another one hosted by an Aloe and Ace couple.
That we're aware of. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen one.
You've looked high and low.
Number 2 is to bring awareness. And number 3 is like to bring joy and happiness and to talk to people and hopefully be some kind of, I don't want to say like inspiration, but
to build community.
Well, to show people that there's a loving Aloe Ace relationship that isn't ending in divorce or open marriage.
If that's not what you want, yes.
If that's not what you want, we're not against open marriage, but a lot of people do reach out to us and say, "Oh, I was reading this article and I got so excited because they're like, oh, the allosexual asexual relationship works." And then the very last line says, "because we opened our marriage."
Right.
And so people are saying it's so rare to see a monogamous relationship that has an asexual and an allosexual. And so and not that we're like, well, this is how we're pigeonholing ourselves, so that's it, and I'm never going to do this. That's not my reason. My reason isn't to be in a monogamous relationship because I've committed to doing a podcast and say that I am, and therefore I'm going to fight every urge of not being in one. I truly love Jesse, and I don't want to be in any other type of relationship than the one I am in now.
With that being said, we would be honest on this podcast if something did change. As much as it would be hard to be so vulnerable and honest, if something did shift, we would be honest about it and talk about whatever we're learning from whatever we're doing. But neither of us can see that happening.
I have zero desire right now.
Right. It's just it's so baffling to people. They literally can't handle it, to the point of someone in the comments telling Skylar, "You don't have a high libido." It's like, are you inside my body? Like, what makes you think that you can say that?
Well, my response was, so a single person who doesn't have a partner can't say that they're high libido unless they're having lots of sex. But what if nobody wants to have sex with them? Then that doesn't change their libido.
It's also interesting to me to see so many what seem to be men commenting, saying stuff like, "You could just go out and get that anywhere." I don't think that that's true, especially for men. I think for women could probably easily go and seek that out. But I hear over and over again that men have to go through quite a process to find someone.
And that's obviously not every man, but from what we have seen in the community with people we know, as soon as and we'll probably talk about this more when we do the ethical non-monogamy episode, but a couple will open their marriage, and this is a heteronormative couple, so obviously it doesn't tie into every relationship, but the man will get on the apps and the woman will get on the apps. She'll have 8 dates before he even has like one.
Right. So it's interesting that someone is just saying you could go out and get as much tail in quotation marks as you want. Ew, I don't like that saying. I just realized the moment I said it, ew, I don't like it.
Yeah, one of the other comments today said, he's out paying for it.
Yeah, and I said, Skylar, what do they mean by that?
And I was like, escort?
I was like, oh, okay, paying for it. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah. So the thing that really ruffled my feathers, the comments that went back and forth, I had Skylar answering 95% of the comments because I knew I couldn't. It was hard reading them.
But I was also the one that made the video. So
He did.
A lot of people were just like, what the hell are you talking about? Which I get. I could have done a better job at explaining what allosexual means, what asexual means.
But Skylar, are you supposed to explain that every time you do a TikTok video?
Well, it depends.
Our account is for an asexual podcast.
I know, but
go out and look it up.
Some people do that. Some people will be like, I'm asexual. If you don't know what that means that I have little to no sexual attraction.
I understand. It's just a bit interesting that people expect you to clarify every single video.
Because there's that one TikTok lesbian that we listen to where she's like, I'm a lesbian that's living with my ex-husband raising our kid. If that's something that you like, then follow along. And that's like how she opens every single video.
She does.
Yeah.
She does do that indeed. So the thing that ruffled my feathers was somebody presenting as a lesbian. Obviously on TikTok, you sometimes don't really know, but they said that in one of their comments. But what followed was a complete lashing out on the asexual community, on me saying that asexuals are appropriating the gay community, like the LGBTQIA community. And I will make this clear. This person put the LGBT community. They didn't want to put the other letters in there.
Yeah,
so
not a lot, but there are a few in the community that wish that it would just stop after the T.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that the Q plus is just almost like an asterisk, but that really it should only be LGBT, and that's it.
Yeah. So this person told me in comments that asexuals don't experience any hate or discrimination, and that how could we experience any hate and discrimination for a lack of a characteristic? And I'm thinking, people get hated on and discriminated against all the time for things that they lack. This person who is a lesbian literally lacks sexual attraction towards men and gets hate for it. Right?
Well,
so it's just very invalidating.
Well, and she said, you're muddying the waters and
you're taking away the attention from the people that actually need it. And then she said that there are Syrian lesbians being murdered every day. And what was sad, she also said, she was speaking on the asexual experience. And I said, it's really sad that you feel that you can speak on the asexual experience when you're not even asexual. And I'd like to point this out that it's not a pissing contest here. I don't need to sit here and weigh out who has it worse. It's not about that. It's about being inclusive and loving and supportive of another sexual orientation that is a minority. And unfortunately, there has been a lot of hatred and there has actually been discrimination. And so it's like, why are you speaking on an experience that you can't speak on as far as not being asexual? I completely support you speaking on the lesbian experience. I understand that. But this is not a competition. I don't want it to be a competition. But you're sitting here saying that we don't experience hate, and you are literally filling my comments with hate. It's So ironic.
Yeah, there's a lot of issue with this idea of who has it worse, and then obviously comparison is the thief of joy. So if you are comparing yourself to other minorities and who has it worse, you get to that point where with things happening in the world like wars, where you're like, well, how can I be happy and be grateful for my house when there's people that are
Starving to death.
They're being
bombed.
blown up,
Yeah.
and that's not what life is about. Life isn't about not being happy because not everyone is happy.
Right.
And or saying that so and so has it worse, so I don't have it that bad. Your struggles and the things that you're fighting for are just as valid as someone who is being murdered for the similar thing in their own country.
Right. It doesn't take away the fact that it's been difficult for you. It's a different kind of difficult, of course. But the worst thing is that playing the comparison game, that's just not the point. The other interesting thing is that the things that gay men and lesbians and other people in the queer community hear are incredibly similar to the same things that an asexual hears. For instance, like a lesbian may hear, you just haven't had the right dick yet, which we all know as asexuals, people say that kind of stuff all the time. Or it's not normal. It's not natural. The way you are isn't natural. Or go check. Have you seen a doctor? Have you seen a therapist? Like, we're hearing the same types of things. So it's just interesting, all of it. It was very hard to read this morning. It left me feeling a bit defeated, I'll be honest.
And we've seen some posts recently where people are like, I'm bringing my asexual flag to Pride. Let's see if I'm accepted. Because there unfortunately is sometimes a lack of acceptance in the queer community when it comes to that. So I know that I'll probably be making a couple shirts for us to wear to Bride that has, asexuality themes on them, just to bring awareness.
Right. I was thinking on my shirt it would say asexuality is kind of bigger, and then have a lot of smaller words like beautiful, emotional, all these things that give an opportunity for not only discussion, awareness, but shed light on the fact that we're not emotionless robots here.
Yeah, the amount of people that just say just swing or just go have
Just
sex
go
with
sleep
someone
with
else.
other people, as if his partner's opinion or emotions don't matter at all. It's
or you should just divorce because it's not going to work out, or you should find someone else who matches you. And I'm like, why should I do that?
Yeah.
Sex is not the foundation of my relationship.
Right. Do you feel like you talking on this podcast, one of your biggest hopes is that you can give such a different perspective to other allosexuals and kind of rewire a little bit?
Rewire for myself?
No, have them gain different perspective. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. Can you break this down a bit and think about it in a different way?
I think this will be another episode that we'll do where we talk about, the allosexual versus the asexual mentality and where we come from each side. I think if anything, what I try to do is just share my own experience and saying, for instance, like I put a lot of value on my self-worth when it came to my partner's sexual desire for me in the past. And I was able to change that.
Right. So I guess the question is, should you want to change that?
And not everyone has to, certainly, but
I do think it sets you up with better not as much failure if you understand your worth is in so many other places.
And I think that it just, the reasons for episodes 6, 7, and 8 was really to start over with your relationships, with your thinking, to see if you can look at your relationship in another way, if you can take the why away from sex and move it to something else, if you can learn to build a stronger foundation. And if anything, like I said, I want to just share my own experience. And if that resonates with people, that resonates with people. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But nobody can say that this type of relationship can't work out as it is.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to touch on is there were a lot of people saying pretty much that this is pretend, not actually happening. You're just trying to be relevant. You guys are living a normal life.
You're just a straight couple that's trying to, appropriate the queer community.
Right, which is, what we said. I just want to say my life has been incredibly impacted since about, I would say, 10 years old, like I've said before, up until 36, figuring this out. The ways in which my life has been impacted by not knowing that I was asexual, it honestly brings me to tears to a degree, because so many things would be different. And I understand that there are so many great things that have come out of me not figuring this out until 36, but the amount of situations, like I've said, that I put myself in, the amount of confusion, the amount of really being unhappy within myself and not understanding, feeling broken, feeling not enough, but not being able to know why. This is why it is important to have this podcast for others to be able to listen to it, discover it, and possibly help them discover themselves in the process so that they can start healing and understand that they're not broken in the ways that they thought that they were.
Well, we brought this up in the last episode where we had a few comments of people that were like, I didn't actually know I was asexual until I listened to, the first couple episodes, and I was like, oh my gosh, I relate so much to Jesse's experience.
Right.
And there are a lot of people in their, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s that don't know this about themselves yet. They don't know what asexuality is. And so the more that we can bring awareness to it, the more that people are going to be able to identify and find community. And one of the videos I did today was about labels, because one of the biggest comments that we got was all these stupid labels. Why does everyone need labels? I wish I could go back to when we had to just go search for food before
grow
all
our
this
own
stuff.
food. Yeah, interesting comments.
and one of the videos I made was, we all use labels, but people only tend to care about them when it comes to gender or sexual stuff. That's it. Because nobody cares that there's Christianity, but then there's sublabels of Christianity like Methodist and Baptist, and then there's sublabels of those like Southern Baptist. If you're all just Christian, then what's the point of having church? What's the point of having all of these different organized religions, all these different sects, if it doesn't matter? Shouldn't just Christianity be enough? Why do we have to go to church? Because you're finding community. You want to label yourself Republican, Democrat, left, right, Boomer, Gen Z, Gen X, Millennial, Gen Alpha. We all have labels.
Right. Political affiliates. Did you say that already?
Yeah,
Democrat.
I said yep.
Yeah. And then also, even in a money sense, your title and label at work, you strive for that. A lot of people aim to get some kind of title or label of who they are and the importance of them at work. And then there are subtitles underneath that. Like all these things, all the big things, the big no-nos that you're not supposed to talk about, they all have these labels and sub-labels or micro-labels, and it's totally fine. Everyone's happy to have all of those and happy to have all the different varieties of Campbell's soup labels, it's everywhere. Labels are literally everywhere, and they keep us, honestly, a lot of labels keep us safe. So what is the big effing deal when it comes to gender and sexual orientation labels? Why? Why? Why is it so polarizing?
Yeah, so it's just interesting the ignorance and the comments that people choose to spend their time, leaving on someone's video and argue about. And we just want to spread love and awareness, and we understand that there are a lot of couples that are listening to this podcast that are struggling in their relationship.
Yeah.
We understand that, and we have empathy to that. And we really just want to, like I said, be there for you guys.
I mean, we had
in whatever way we can.
Yeah, and we had our own struggles too. We've had our own struggles for the last 6 years trying to figure out, especially me, trying to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. And that's why I think I kind of get curious about what would have happened if I didn't figure it out yet. How long would I have gone? What would have happened? And honestly, sadly, I think I would have sabotaged us because I couldn't take the broken feeling for too much longer. After years and years of trying to fix myself and not being able to, I would feel so bad about not understanding why I don't feel that way towards you that I wouldn't be able to handle it anymore. So what we're saying comes from a place of love. We do our very, very best not to judge anyone for whatever situation they're going through. Obviously, we're human. I think we've done a pretty good job, though, at keeping an open mind and being in curiosity. We just want to help. We just want to help anyone we possibly can. This weekend is Pride Festival in Salt Lake City. We plan on going this weekend, at least one of the days, and we've gone. Usually we try to go for, I think every year we've gone, actually, now that I think about it. And it's interesting this year because I'm going to Pride this year actually understanding myself.
For the first time.
Yes. In previous years, I've always felt
more like an ally.
Yeah. I had this feeling of being an ally, but I also had this just really strong pull towards the community that I couldn't explain, and I'd get very passionate about it. And I always just chalked it up to having a lot of family members in the community. So this year going, knowing that I am full force panromantic, and obviously full force asexual, thinking about it, it's felt really good. I'll be honest in saying this morning, reading through some of the comments, it made me a little nervous. I was like, oh man, am I going to be well received in the community that I have absolutely cherished and adored for years and years? I don't know. Are there going to be rude comments made about wearing an Ace Pride shirt? These are things crossing my mind. And Skylar and I have thought about maybe doing a booth next year, not only for, selling fun Pride merchandise, shirts, stickers, those kinds of things, but also to talk about the podcast. And now that makes me feel a little bit nervous, knowing I've heard of the nastiness that people have felt in the community towards asexuals and bisexuals as well. But I have not ever experienced it firsthand until today in those comments. So it feels a bit more brave. In the weirdest way, I felt like before today, I felt like I would feel accepted and so happy to know myself going. But now it feels a bit brave to step out, be wearing an Ace shirt. I've actually not worn any Ace apparel, so that's going to be a new experience as well.
Well, I think too, we've never looked around for any asexual stuff at Pride.
Nope.
So, when you are looking for a new car and then you start seeing that car everywhere, it'll be interesting to see if all of a sudden we start noticing a lot of asexual stuff at Pride.
I almost want to go and I want to
Keep a checkbox.
No, I do almost want to go with stickers, like make a good stack of ace stickers. And when we see an ace person, that's representing asexuality, give them a sticker. That'd be so fun.
We only get rid of one.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. If that happens, we're going to send listener stickers. Do you hear that, everyone?
We'll be like, what's your address?
What's your address? Sticker time. No, but really, though, don't you think that would feel special?
Yeah.
I think it would feel
I
special.
think we should.
Okay, then it's happening. We're doing it. I'm so excited and nervous to be recording an episode, hopefully on Monday or Tuesday next week, talking about what the experience was like to go.
Yeah, we figured that this episode and the next episode would probably be more, off the standard what we've been talking about, which I know that, some people might be annoyed by that, but I think some people, they also want to just hear the general chit chat that we have between us, in front of a microphone.
Yeah, I think that brings you in. And it's important for you to hear some real life stories going on here and what's happening in real time.
I've actually had the idea of us, without talking to each other, have almost like a end of month check-in with each other to see if there's anything that I've done, there's anything that you've done, because we've talked about this. We talk about like having a weekly or
Do you
monthly.
have something to tell me?
Not at all.
I'm like, I haven't heard of this yet. I'm a little bit nervous.
But yeah, so talking about like having those check-ins with your partner to discuss stuff, it'd be interesting to do almost like a one-on-one therapy session live about, talking about if there's anything that we need to clear up, almost on the spot in front of a microphone.
That might get really boring though if we don't have anything.
Well, if we don't have anything, we don't have anything.
Yeah.
Chances are we won't.
It would go like this. It would go like this. Hey, tonight we should try to record an episode talking about things we need to clear up between each other. And then, do you have anything? Yes. Okay, well, this is going to be interesting.
Well, and I don't know that we would ever have anything to clear up between us because we talk all the time.
We do. We talk all the time.
But it could be more of a thing where we have like random questions that we answer.
Do you have a random question for me to answer right now?
If you could change one aspect about our relationship, what would you change?
I would choose to figure out my asexuality way earlier.
And what do you think that would have done?
That would have kept me from putting myself in several interesting situations.
And if those interesting situations have been avoided, how would that make your relationship better or?
I don't feel like I would feel sad that I put myself through that kind of abuse, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, that got kind of dark. Sorry, everyone, but not sorry. It's the truth.
Do you have a random question for me? It can't be the same one.
Oh, okay. Do you... Okay,
no,
I got
the
one.
Muffin Man?
I got one.
Muffin Man?
Do you feel like you ever thought that you would be married? Wait.
Yes.
Do you think...
That was an easy question.
Did you ever think in your wildest dreams that you would be in a pretty much sexless marriage?
Hell no.
Okay. So shock of a lifetime, huh?
Yeah.
But also, are you like, Look at you growing and evolving, having introspection.
It's difficult because a lot of comments that I have made throughout multiple years, it's almost like, is it karma?
I know, but I don't want you. I mean, you even saying that is like, Jesse, I have to be with an asexual because of karma. That sounds terrible, babe. You just.
No, I'm not saying that it is karma. I'm saying that people could say like, oh, it's karma because you blah, blah, blah. No, the way that I look at it, it's like all these times, all these things that I've said, it's almost like, oh, look at that. You're exactly in the relationship that you said that you didn't want to be in, or you would have never been in, or whatever.
You're feeling the exact opposite than what you used to feel, which is a huge shift.
So I'm not saying that your asexuality is a karma thing for me. I'm saying that people...
Yeah, I don't want to be bad karma.
No, people would look at that almost as like a tongue-in-cheek, like karma, you know, that's hilarious type
like
of
this
thing.
Is actually going to teach you.
Like that's funny. Like that kind of a thing. Not in a negative way, but it's like, yeah. So...
Maybe I was sent here from who knows where to teach you.
Teach me.
Yeah, teach you, Skylar. Wait, I did want to say something about sexless marriage. My dad, bless his little heart.
His broken heart.
It is partially broken. This is true. Literally, he has some heart issues.
We talk about that in episode 7.
Yeah. He asked me and Skylar randomly a few days ago.
Well, he asked you.
Okay, sorry. He asked me a few days ago randomly, "Are you guys still in love with each other?" And I looked at him like, "Are you my dad? Like, is the sky blue?" Because he is always going on and on and on for the last 6 years about how much we're in love. Skylar and I are in love, and that man adores you. He would do anything for you, all these things. And so a few days ago, he asks, are you guys still in love? So when he asked that, I was like, Dad, of course we're still in love. Why would you ask that? And he's like, well, you know, and I'm like, is it because we're in a damn near sexless relationship? He's like, well, and I'm like, great, Dad. That's so great. I'm so happy that you just asked me that. Yes, we're still in love.
Well, the interesting thing is like, he brings it up every so often.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing has changed. I don't know why he thinks all of a sudden I'm not going to be in love with you.
Yeah, I don't. Well, because sex is just so gosh darn powerful, Skylar. And marriage definitely hinges on sex, Skylar. For everybody.
Yeah.
In the whole wide world.
I was going to say, you know, earlier, like 3 minutes ago earlier. 2 comments. First, the sky is not actually blue.
I don't even need to hear this right now. Like, quite honestly, I'm okay with it being blue. Okay? Thank you.
The second comment, no. The whole thing, there has been a major shift in my mind when it comes to what it means to be in a sexless marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole like dead bedroom thing, when you're looking at it from the standpoint of 2 allosexual people being together, there tends to be more of, I guess, this understanding of like, well, you're allosexual and I'm allosexual, so you should want it. And that's what's funny is there are so many dead bedrooms in quote unquote regular relationships, but yet people think that's always the answer, is to be in a relationship with a quote unquote allosexual again.
Oh, all of the allosexuals commenting saying, you need to go be with someone that's like you.
Be with someone like yourself that has the same desires. And I'm like,
I think you need to go out and wear a sign that says, I have a super high libido. Who wants to be with me? and see what happens.
But it's like, who...
Let's do a social experiment, but let's not.
The thing is that all of those relationships, at some point, someone's going to be disappointed. So
It's because libido is ever changing. It's ever changing.
And so, yeah, before I would look at that and be like, yeah, sexless marriage, don't want that. And now I have a completely different mindset with it. And it's really what it has allowed me to do as we've done this podcast, as we've gone through the last couple of years together with this, figuring this out. It has really gotten me to a place where I see you completely.
Mm-hmm.
And lately I've been saying, I love you endlessly, or I love you completely.
Mm-hmm. Wholly,
because before, and we've mentioned this multiple times, you would have that sliver, not you, but me and other allosexuals in the relationship. You get that sliver of disappointment or that sliver of what's going on if your partner doesn't want to have sex with you.
That sounds so exhausting. I'm just going to say it.
You start doubting the healthiness of the relationship because there's no relationship that's healthy without sex. It's not possible because in a relationship, you should want to have sex. And if you don't, there's a reason for it. And that reason is not a healthy reason.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're able to see my love for you a lot more clearly?
1,000%.
Oh, I love that
because
so
it's
much.
not clouded by me just focusing on, well, we've only had sex twice this month or 3 times or once this month. And what else could be going on? I don't get it. Does she not love me? Is something else? Like, would she be better off with someone else?
Yeah, it's forever burned in my memory that you said, I need to feel desired. And I'm sitting there thinking before I knew I was asexual, well, shit.
Well,
because I'm like, I love you
it's like crickets.
so much. But I have no idea why I don't freaking think like this.
So, yeah, 100,000%, which is not really possible.
You can actually appreciate the love I have for you in such a better, deeper way now because of the understanding.
Yes, I
love that.
I have no question in my mind, not even a sliver of a question in my mind that you love me completely. That you accept me completely.
Are we making people barf yet?
I don't know.
Probably.
And so, yeah, karma or not or whatever, tongue in cheek, haha, I am grateful for it, actually.
You're grateful to be in this asexual relationship?
I am grateful for it because now I truly, fully understand what it means to love someone.
And do you feel like you see yourself more clearly?
Yeah, I can see clear.
Oh, okay.
She didn't even let me finish the song.
Sorry. Well, should we wrap this one up?
Hell yeah.
Okay, I do want to do a shameless plug for therapy here. I'm not getting anything from this besides hopefully you becoming happier and healthier. I am currently in therapy for my asexuality. My therapist does not like when I say that. I call it ace therapy. She feels like it's me trying to say that I'm trying to fix my aceness. No, it's just, I almost like it actually saying that. So I am in therapy to understand myself and accept and embrace my sexuality. I have been doing therapy with this particular person for at least what?
4 times?
Oh, no.
5, yeah.
I think like 5.
5?
5 or 6 times. We moved to having sessions every week because there was just too damn much to talk about, we decided. And it's true. There is. So I just want to put it out there, everyone. If you're able to search out for a good therapist, try a few on. See what works. It's good to talk to somebody, especially a professional that you know is supportive in the areas that you need support. So, yeah, you should do that. Okay, thanks.
And if you've made it this far and you're still with us, we would love if you could leave us a review on whatever podcast platform you're using.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there's at least 340 Spotify subscribers, so
That's pretty cool.
we should have at least 340 reviews, because all it takes is to scroll up to the top and just say 5 stars.
Skylar, you can be honest with us, you know. We do have our website as well. We have the workbook on there. It is free to download. And I know we have not put any cool shirts, stickers, anything on there yet, but we will. I promise you that we will. We also have the little option there. If you love this show and you want to buy us a coffee, the option's there on the website as well.
Before we get any cool Pride type shirts on there, if you are interested to see our other Etsy, our normal Etsy, I'll put the link in this episode, but it is etsy.com/shop/bonus bunch goods, which is all one word. No pressure, not asking you to buy anything, but
it has come up in the past, so it's good to kind of...
Some people are interested. So.
Yeah, shed some light on it. We got a super sweet wolf howling at the moon shirt and a really stellar mushroom, like psychedelic type shirt.
Yeah, those are the 2 most popular shirts.
Right. We appreciate all of the support that you guys have given so far, all of the messages you've sent, all of the reviews and ratings that have been left already. And we love you.
Yeah, and we will talk to you again after the Pride event.
Yeah, we'll talk to you very soon.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.